Welcome to Art by Rick. I'm Rick. On the last show, I did a painting that I titled Anger Painting. Basically, it was a 16 by 20 canvas, and I used angry colors, reds, some black, a little bit of orange, slight little bit of yellow. And if you watched that show, you saw me apply it to the canvas, and then I anger painted. I got angry at the canvas. I actually used my fists and I punched that canvas, and I just kept punching it and punching in the colors to the canvas to basically make a painting that when you look at it, you would think this painting's angry. Look at the anger in that painting. So on today's show, I decided I'm going to kind of do a little bit of the opposite. I thought, what can I do that would represent peace, something tranquil, something meditative? You know, when you're calming yourself down, some people will listen to music, some people just close their eyes and meditate. They'll think of pleasant places, maybe a field of grain or some flowers, or in my case, I like to think of the ocean with the gentle sounds of the waves hitting the shore to just calm my mind down. And when I think of peaceful colors, I think of colors of nature, mostly blue and sometimes a little green. So in this painting, I'm going to do a very simple blend of blue colors, maybe a hint of green, and blend them together to give that feeling of an overall peaceful, gentle painting to look at. So let's head over to my studio and my preparation table. I'll show you the paints that I'm going to pick out, and we'll do this painting. Again, something very simple, very quiet, very peaceful. Let's head over to the studio. Okay, here we are at my table, my work table, and we're going to do a peaceful painting today. So I'm here in my studio, and I'm going to pick out the colors that I'm going to use. So I've decided I'm going to use some blues, maybe a hint of green. So I have several different colors of blues. So if I come over here to my paint shelf, I have a number of different colors of blue. So I'm going to pick out a light blue, a dark blue, maybe a medium type blue. And I've got, I have a navy here, and I even have a true navy. So maybe I'll use some of that. And then I might pick out a green. I have some green paint here, so I do have a little bit of Christmas green. I might put a hint of deep green in there depending on how this looks. So these are going to be the paints that I'm going to use. Again, I'm going to do a 16 by 20 canvas. I'm laying it flat because I find when I blend, it's better to do it while it's flat rather than trying to do it up on the easel because I don't want the paints to drip. So I'll do that there. But of course, before I do anything, I want to protect my sweater, right? So I'll grab my painting apron, which I hide behind my easel here, and we'll get my apron on. And we'll figure out what we're going to do as far as how we're going to lay the paints down onto the canvas here. I'm going to do some striping of the different colors, and then as I pull the brush across the canvas, those colors will blend together. So let's play around with that. I'm going to move the camera, bring it in so that you can see what I'm doing here on the canvas. We'll lay those colors down, and then we'll be able to do our blending of the colors for our peaceful bluish green painting. All right, so now the canvas is set up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my striping of my colors across the canvas, and then I'm going to blend. And I have a brush that I like to use. It's this brush right here. It's a nice brush for blending, and then I kind of go over it with a larger brush. What I want to do is accomplish having us kind of staring at this and looking like you're looking off into the distance. Now, the way the camera is set up is this is upside down to you in the audience, so I can see what I'm doing from the angle that I'm doing it. So once I've laid down the paints, when I come back, once it's set up, is I'll turn it around so you can kind of see what I'm doing. But in order to get that feeling of distance, I'm going to start from a darker color and work to a lighter color. So I have some dark blue here, and what I'm going to do with this dark blue is I'm just going to make a couple of stripes of blue across the bottom of the canvas, just like that. And that will kind of allow me to blend or blend this down on the bottom. I'll follow that up with a little bit different kind of a blue, just to give it a little contrast. So I'm putting this blue onto the blend here. I'm going to go a little bit lighter. So I'm adding some lighter blue now, a couple of stripes of that. And then I'll put my lightest blue on the top. So here's my lighter blue on the top. Okay, so that gives me my 4 colors of blue that I'm going to blend together. Now I've lifted this canvas up off the table. It's on cups so that when it dries it doesn't stick to the table itself. So now I'm going to take my blending brush and I'm going to do some peaceful strokes because this is a peaceful painting. So I'm just going to start here on the bottom and I'm going to stroke across the canvas, just nice even strokes. I want to make sure I get the bottom of the canvas. Because I want to seal the canvas all the way around. So just a nice stroke on the bottom. Just easy, easy, easy. Again, just kind of getting the side a little bit. And I'm just going to peacefully go back and forth and back and forth. Just like that. That's all. Just back and forth. Blending into the next color. Again, going back and forth, just kind of covering the canvas, making sure that I get the sides here. It's going to drip off. It's going to be kind of a mess because I am pulling the paint off the canvas as I'm kind of going here. So again, just back and forth. And then I'm going to blend. I'm going to make sure that I pull these down into each other. So I'm just going back and forth, back and forth. As I said, it's a very peaceful painting. So I'm kind of just making sure that I pull the paint off, letting it blend together as we work our way up to the lighter color. So now we're on the lighter blue, which is on the top of the canvas. And again, I'm just kind of going around doing the edges, and I'm just blending it in, blending it in, blending it in, doing the sides, making sure I get the sides of the canvas. I also want to make sure I tap the top of this to do the top color. And again, I'm just blending across. So this is the light blue on the top here. Whoops, lost a cup. Put that back in place. So I'm kind of just blending across the top of the canvas, and I'm blending back and forth, just real back and forth. And I find that sometimes if I just pull to one direction, it gives me a nicer or more even stroke. So again, here we go. We're just blending this together. Again, from lighter to darker, just nice and easy, nice and easy, nice and easy. Now to keep these paints from really mixing too much, as you can see what I just did, I touched the dark and then I came up and touched the light. So it kind of brought some of the dark paint up to the top. I'll use a separate brush. This is a little bit bigger of a brush, and I'll just use this to kind of smooth the paint out a little bit. So again, I'm just kind of going back and forth, back and forth. Again, just blending this paint across the canvas, making some lines. I'll use the other side of this to kind of just blend it in together. And as this dries, you'll see the stroke paints of the, from the brush. So that's going to kind of give us a little bit of a distance feel as we're kind of looking at this going across. All right, so now I'll let this set up. Once it's dried and it's set up, I'll come back and see if I want to blend some more colors off over it, or maybe even add a little bit of that green. So let's go away and just let this sit just for a little bit and set itself up. So now this canvas has had an opportunity to set up, and as I said, when I was doing the painting along the canvas, I was blending the colors, going from the darker to the lighter, and this is upside down. So if I gently kind of move this is a little bit dry, and I turn it around, I don't know if you can actually see this. But again, we're going from the darker color down here on the bottom, and I just blended it going all the way up to the lighter color at the top. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and give this a little bit of detail. So I'm going to put it back on the stands here, or my paper cups as I call them. And again, this is kind of standing the canvas up. And what I plan to do now is I'm going to add a little bit more color to this. So again, I started with the darker color. So I'm taking my dark blue, and I'm just going to add a little bit more of the dark blue on the bottom here, just to make it a little bit darker. Just a little bit, not much, just a little bit. And I want to kind of just blend this on in. And I'm really, pressing to kind of blend this in a little bit. Just blending it in. Kind of almost blotchy. Because I want this to give an impression of being a little depth, a little, kind of going back. So here we go. We're just kind of blotching this on here. I'm actually using some of the spill that was on the table to kind of make this blend a little bit better. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a little bit of green to this, just a little bit. So here's my green. And I'm going to shake a little bit of the green on here, just on the bottom part. And again, I'm going to just try and blend this green into the blue. So again, I'm blending. Just blending it, just to give it a little bit of a greenish kind of color. All right. There we go. And we'll add some more of our light color up here on the top so that we can blend this down. And again, I'm adding the light color on the top, and I'm working it into the canvas to just blend it. I want to blend this down into my canvas. And let's see, we'll do a little bit more right here just to help blend this a little bit into the canvas, into it. There we go. Now we're kind of getting there. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let this part set up, and then I'll try and give it a little bit of definition. But again, we're just blending this in and letting it blend into the canvas to kind of give us an illusion of depth. All right, so let's just get this back up on the cups, and we'll let this sit, And then we'll take a look at it and see where we go from there. All right. Now the green and the blue here is set up a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is, just to give this a little bit of depth, I'm going to add just a slight bit of white onto this canvas. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to take my white paint and I'm just going to put a dab or two of white paint onto a paper plate. Just like that, just a little bit of white paint onto a paper plate. And I'm going to use my brush, and I'm just going to dip this small brush into some white paint. And I'm going to make some lines on here. Just some basic lines, just kind of a little bit of white, because this I want to be the illusion of perhaps, well, I don't know, maybe some waves. So again, I'll take my spreader brush, and what I'm doing here is I'm just going to blend this white a little bit into the canvas, just like that. That's all. Just a little bit of a blend of the white into the canvas, almost so it almost disappears. All right, so now I'll leave this alone, and I'll turn it around and I'll zoom in on it so that you can have a real good look at what this canvas is kind of trying to say in our peaceful painting. Now I've added a little bit of white to the canvas. I've turned it around so now you can see the darker colors towards the bottom of this canvas going into the lighter colors. And I've done a blending technique, adding darker blues to lighter blues, adding a little green, and then just a little hint of white. Because what I want this to try to do as you stare at it is for your mind to picture maybe some ocean water or maybe some lake water kind of going off into the distance. But again, it's up to you. And I'm going to try and zoom in on this just a little bit as you look at the canvas and just kind of stare at it a little bit. Nice, peaceful canvas. Maybe water going off into the distance. As you just calmly look at it, meditate on the colors. Whoops. Again, just a peaceful painting. Something that's interesting to look at on the wall. Very simple to do. Okay, let's just get off the table here and go on back over to the main studio area, and we'll talk a little bit about what we were trying to accomplish today. So in review, what we did today is we were trying to accomplish a painting that will draw the viewer in and give them a peaceful, tranquil type feeling. And I chose colors that relay that. So I used a lot of blues. I added a little green in order to add some depth. And then I thought, well, these blues and this green blended together is kind of looking like an ocean to me, or ocean water going off into the distance and blending with the sky, that kind of idea. So I added a little bit of white streaks into the canvas to give the illusion of maybe a little bit of moving of water. And I hope I accomplished that. So this is partially set up so I can hold this canvas up a little bit for you. So here's the painting that we've done today. I haven't thought of what I'm going to name this painting, but basically this painting will give us a little bit of a tranquil, peaceful type feel. I can frame this, I can hang it on the wall somewhere, I can leave it just the way that it is. This is purposely done so that it's hanging in this direction. Unlike some of my abstracts that you can turn different ways, this one was designed so it hangs this way. Because again, I'm trying to get the viewer to draw into the canvas and see what they might see. Abstract art is open to a lot of interpretation. It's the kind of thing where you need to kind of look at it, stare at it, take it in, see what it's telling you, experience the painting itself. There's all different points of views. This was a very, very, very simple blending technique on canvas. You saw how I put the paints down, how I just blended it back and forth using a couple of brushes to stretch the paint across the canvas. Now, I could take this to the next step. Someone looked at a painting like this at one time and they were imagining a boat or a ship off in the distance and said, well, why don't you add something like that? Well, you can if you want to, but I'm very simple. If you've watched Art by Rick, you know that most of the paintings that I do are not very complicated. They're very simple, easy paintings because I want you to open up the artist in you. I want you to buy a canvas, buy some paints, experiment, and try some things. See what you're capable of doing. Make some things. Look around the house. That wall needs something. That area needs something to look at. Match some colors. Do an interesting design. There are a lot of videos on the internet that you can watch, different artists doing things. You could also tune into Art by Rick and see some of the things that I've done, maybe get some ideas and be creative. So, we did anger painting where I punched the canvas and got really mean at it and used a lot of bright reds and some black and yellow and orange and just kind of beat the canvas up. And now we've done a nice, peaceful, quiet, blend type painting that you can look at, meditate on, and see what you want to see in the painting itself and in the screen. The next show I'm thinking of doing is going to be a very interesting show. I'm going to call it Naked Painting. What's naked painting? Well, you'll have to tune into that show to find out what I mean by painting naked or naked painting. My name's Rick. This has been Art by Rick. I'll see you next time.
Follow us on Instagram at nutmeg.tv.
What are you doing this summer? Do you want to belong to a community that embraces the creative spirit, not pushes it aside? Are you ready to explore your inner passions and meet lifelong friends? YPI is for you. Since 1981, YPI has served as an annual retreat, a home base, and a welcoming environment for the curious mind. You'll find an inclusive, sharing community where we are always learning. At YPI, your success begins with believing there are no can'ts and no won'ts. We're not your average arts camp. You don't need any special ability or talent because our professional staff will foster your interest in the creative arts at any level. Maybe it's a paintbrush, or a microphone, a camera, or a pen, or any combination of all of these. We inspire passion, build confidence, and strengthen friendships. We're YPI. Are you ready to find out what the YPI state of mind is all about?